Morning, YouTube. This is the side of the creative life that no one really talks about. The admin, the emails, the correspondence, the invoices, the boring side. Fun way to start the morning. Right, let's do this thing. Hey YouTube, my name's Seb and I am a mixed media artist. I primarily take photos, but sometimes I illustrate as well. And sometimes I mix the two where I would draw on top of my photographs. Depending on the concept and what I'm trying to evoke, I would sometimes make the illustrated aspect front and center and really in your face. And sometimes it's more of a tool to make my photography look better, where I would use illustration to add elements like smoke or embers or edit out hair strands, masking things out, etc. And that kind of really goes well with my editing style because I've always tried to make my photos look illustrated. And that's pretty much down to my love and passion for comic books, animation, anime. I was a 90s kid who grew up in Hong Kong, so I used to watch Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Dragon Ball, Gundam, Yu Yu Hakusho, Beyblade, Codename Kids Next Door, Studio Ghibli. And that really influenced my tastes and what I deem to be aesthetic. I love vibrancy, I love colors, I love making things pop. I used to draw in the margins of my textbooks, make little comic books. And that's because I grew up idolizing people like Hayao Miyazaki, Alex Ross, Jim Lee, Bruce Timm. Oh my God, Batman the Animated Series, that used to slap. Still does. Batman Beyond, Justice, okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole. But I'm also very much into classical art and the works of Caravaggio, Vermeer, Velasquez, Rembrandt, which is why I always light my images with strong contrast and deep shadows and that single point lighting setup. My work is very much a reflection of everything that I love and am passionate about, which arguably should be the way all artists work, in my opinion, you know? Each photo and illustration that I do or say yes to doing has to resonate with me in some way. It has to be something I've always wanted to do, a subject I've always been fascinated about, a story I've always wanted to tell, which is why every time I put out a new work, it's always my favorite one at the time. And every time I work with a model or a brand and I DM them, I'll always start it with, yo, this is something I've always wanted to do, and then send them a sketch. It's my passion, it's my hobby. I live it, I breathe it, which is why I'm always having fun, which is why it's always a ride and it never feels like work. It's just a vibe, you know? It's just a freaking vibe. That is what I call flavor. Freaking crab roe, coriander, mussel sauce, Lodesh. And now a little bit more about my past. So I was born and raised in Hong Kong, like I said, and I lived there for 18 years before I moved to the UK for university where I studied art and film. It was during this time that my best friend and I started a clothing brand together. It was inspired by our love for tattoo culture, tattoo art, but in hindsight, I don't think we had the maturity to sustain a business. We didn't really have the business know-how. However, we did learn a lot, and I am very grateful for those years just because it was through this brand that I picked up a camera and I started to take photos. At the time I was studying film and I was very passionate about being a filmmaker. I still am. But I started taking more stills and slowly but surely I started to enjoy it a lot, to the extent where I could start charging people for it and potentially make it a career. It was during this period that I was churning out so much content. I was doing daily Instagram posts, 5 to 6 shoots a week, editing hundreds of photos at a time. I started making connections, making friends, making a little money. But I would argue that I didn't really find my groove until I started to take a step back and taking the time to make each image count, to make each image more special. It was during this time where I was still discovering my style. And to this day, I still am, because I argue that your style as an artist should grow and evolve with you. But it was at this time of my peak output that I was very derivative. I was basically doing what everyone else was doing, and it really helped my social media following for sure. But looking back now, I probably wouldn't bat an eye at my work. It was frankly nothing new, nothing special. And they always say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And at this time I was taking thousands of images, but none of them really said anything. And that really irked me. It was at that time that I had kind of an existential crisis, which I think every artist should experience every now and then. And I was thinking, if the internet were to shut down on that very day, would I be able to look at my work and be proud? And the answer was no. I don't think my work was a reflection of my abilities, of my passions, of what my true potential was. And it was when I started to realize this and I started to put more effort into the planning and the narrative of each image, that's when I really started to discover my style and my flow. And that's when my passion and my hunger really kicked in. I started to think more about what I was trying to say, what I was trying to evoke, what my intention was for each image. I started to slow down and really focus on making each image have an impact. I didn't want people to just doom scroll and see it and be like, meh. I wanted people to see it and be like, yo, check this out. Wait a minute, look at this photo. It was after a couple years of doing that I then took what is arguably my most recognizable work to this date, and that is Icarus. And it's been a couple years since then. I've had the amazing opportunity to work with some incredible talents, incredible models, brands, projects. I've done a UK #1 album cover, shot some incredible editorials, released my own book. It's been a hell of a ride. It's been a hell of a journey. It's just been a vibe, you know? It's been beautiful. Which leads me to this point where I wanted to start a YouTube channel to start documenting a bit more of my life and my journey as a self-made creative here in London. So I think this channel is gonna be more vlogs, highlights of the week, behind the scenes. I'm gonna do a home tour, a desk setup, what's in my gear bag. It's gonna be lifestyle orientated. And I don't think it's gonna be tutorials or edit like me, just because I think there's plenty of creatives who already do that and do it really well. So I don't think I'm gonna do that. And it's not really my vibe. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know about me and my plans for this channel. If you like this video, please consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing. It would mean the world. I am gonna try and do a video a week, but I can't promise you, but I can promise you I'm definitely gonna try to be consistent. But yeah, as always, I've been your boy Seb. Peace.